What is samadhi as far as you've heard about it in the past? Not from me, but
I feel a person who cultivates samadhi
yeah.
uh, is a person who is completely away from the worldly pleasures, let it be money or let it be name, fame. That person is so spiritually connected with God and only focusing on his beliefs and nature so much that all the worldly beliefs uh, don't really count in that person's life. And that's what samadhi means.
Okay, so that's like just from what you've heard in the
Mhm.
past, samadhi
Yeah.
is like an unworldliness. You've detached from worldly things.
Yeah.
It doesn't like you've never heard about it as like a very specific meditative state.
It is
State.
a kind of meditation
Yeah.
where we do say that a person who has cultivated samadhi or opted for samadhi, we do say that they are like a guru or they are like a priest in our culture. And as priest, they do meditate and they do have a very simple living. Uh,
Okay, so is samadhi like supposed to be some kind of consistent state that these people exist in, or is it something that they go into when they're meditating?
it's they have cultivated uh, through meditative practices for years and years. They have cultivated that level of peace and that level of detachment from this world.
And you say they have samadhi?
Yeah.
They have samadhi. Okay, so I'll tell you about what samadhi means in the Buddhist context.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't quite know the best way to first start explaining samadhi because it's so involved, right? Like first, yeah, there's stages to get to it, but samadhi is a specific meditative state for Buddhists. It's something that's super normal. It's something that ordinary people don't have access to. But samadhi is a state where you have freed yourself from sensual desire. You've freed yourself from worldly attachments, and it's a state that you enter into in seated meditation. So in like you have to be seated. It's formal. You have to. Your body has to be still. And it really what it is it's a state of stillness of mind.
Hmm.
So it's when you have to do a whole bunch of preliminaries to get to it. You have to cultivate this mindfulness, as it's called. Everyone's heard of mindfulness because it's in Western psychology now, but they don't really, I don't think they really know what it is. Mindfulness is a very specific practice where you are trying to work towards cultivating attention on a still point. I don't think they really teach that. They teach sort of just like a broad general awareness of everything. But really, mindfulness in the Buddhist context, where it comes from, like the term mindfulness is a translation of sati, and it was brought in by actual Buddhists into the Western psychological tradition. But it's you're trying to cultivate attention on a still point, and the still point that is most commonly used is the entrance of the breath at the nostrils. And that is what they teach. They teach breath meditation in Western tradition. And I guess it does, it like through people like John Kabat-Zinn, with mindfulness based stress reduction, he is bringing actual Buddhist techniques directly into, the Western therapeutic context.
Right.
Yeah. So,
What is that one thing or one technique that you started with
yeah.
as to cultivate a samadhi or like to reach that space?
Well, I dived straight in when I was 19 years old to a Buddhist monastery where my intention was to become a monk because I had read some Buddhist books starting from about 17 years old. And I became very inspired and I got deeper and deeper into it. Eventually, I started listening to monks and I was really inspired by these monks and this concept of enlightenment and nirvana and I believed in it. And I thought, like, that's what I really want to do, is I want to attain that enlightenment. So at 19, I got my parents' permission, and that was hard because my mother was no, my mother was actually easier. It was my father. My father kicked my ass about it. He was like, "Oh, I think you're running away. I think you're quitting." You know, he's like, "I think your schooling just got too hard, and now you want to run away." It had nothing to do with that, though, right? I was just really inspired by this, and I was going for it. So eventually, he said, "Well, if you can get past me, you must really want to do it," because he tried, you know.
Yeah.
But my mother just said, "Hey, it's your life. Like, you're going to do what you want to do." So I went to this Buddhist monastery, and it was very meditation centered. You wake up at 5 a.m. and or 5:15 a.m. and by 5:30 you're meditating. You meditate for 50 minutes in the morning, and then you only eat twice a day. You have a breakfast and a lunch, and you're supposed to cultivate mindfulness throughout the day. You have all of these rules at the monastery where you're not watching any entertainment. You're not, you're really trying to just be meditative all the time. It's very, very meditation focused. The first meal, you're allowed to chat, but the second meal is silent. You're encouraged to, like, there's a sign on the wall that says speech is silver, but silence is golden, you know? And please observe golden silence in the kitchen, like while you're cooking and stuff. And so it's very much like they discourage too much socialization. And then you have a tea time. Now this was interesting because Ajahn Sona, the abbot of the monastery, he used to give a talk at 4 or 4:30 p.m. every day, and we would have tea, and you could have little candies because they have certain allowables. Monks are not allowed to eat after noontime, but things that were considered medicines are allowable. So they would just put those out for the lay people so they could have something at least. And they would drink tea, and Ajahn Sona would give a talk. So he'd sit, and we'd all sit around, and there was a basket that was questions for the monk, and he would give preference to verbal questions, and then if nobody was asking any verbal questions, he might take one from the basket and read it. But he would speak for an hour every single day. So I got this hour of just the most profound wisdom shared with me every day. I went there to become a monk, but I only stayed for 3 months the first time. And it ended difficultly because I didn't want to leave, but the intensity of my own practice became too much for me. And I guess you could say that I had a psychological breakdown. And so that was...
How did you know that? Oh, that was the point where you were getting the nervous breakdown, because when
delusion. Like I just had some pretty intense delusions. I was looking at the world through this...
What were the emotions that you felt when...
Fear, mostly. Because I was looking at the world through this Buddhist cosmological lens, where I'm trying to escape samsara. I'm trying to escape the desire realm, and I'm trying to overcome desire. And the truth is, I didn't really know how to do that yet. And so there's kind of this cosmology of beings in Buddhism, and they don't have the devil like Christianity does. They have somebody named Mara. And Mara is not a demon so much, but he's a very high god. But he's a god who is kind of like the lord of sensuality, right? And he is invested in keeping beings interested in sensuality. So he's kind of the enemy of the monks. He doesn't really like the monks. He wants to, it's a psychological thing, right? But he wants to pull them back into sensual desire and things like that. And so I kind of had this character going on in my mind. I was alone a lot, right? And intentionally, I was practicing, this isolated meditation practice. And yeah, it freaked me out, and I got paranoid and scared, and I mean, I don't like feel comfortable even sharing like the
Mm.
yet, you know, like
Yeah.
it's just it was very difficult,
Mm.
and I wasn't able to continue at the monastery, even
Mm.
though my will was to. Eventually,
Mm.
my mother convinced me to come back to North Delta where I grew up,
Mhm.
and um, so and then after that, I reverted to. I grew up. I guess you could say atheist because that was kind of atheism was dominant in my culture here on the west coast of Canada.
Mm.
And I kind of reverted to that for the next 8 months. I
Mm.
just kind of rationalized away the experiences that I'd had at the monastery and the belief that I'd had.
Mhm.
And for about 8 months, and then after that, it's just kind of crept back in, and
Mm.
I realized I still had a pull in that direction,
Mm.
and so I started thinking about it again and practicing again, and eventually, I think after about a year, I went back to the monastery with the intention of being a monk again. And if I remember correctly, because I haven't thought about this in a long time, but I believe Ajahn Sona just kind of told me, considering what happened the last time, you should, you know, get used to coming and going from the monastery, stay for periods of time, longer and longer periods of time,
Mhm.
and then just, ease your way
Yeah.
into it if that's what you, and then if it's what you really want to do, if it is your destiny, then it'll happen, right?
Yeah.
But I was kind of denied the second time. And but anyway, in the following years, I practiced what I had learned, and I was listening to Ajahn Sona. He had a large collection of audio talks online,
Mhm.
and I would listen to those. So hundreds of talks, hundreds of hours
Mm.
of his Dhamma talks, and I would practice. And the first time at the monastery, I had some pretty blissful, ecstatic, meditations, but not the real thing. It was at home. So I would go back for retreats, and I met a
Mhm.
girlfriend, and we used to actually cook for the retreats. So we did like 3 or 4
Mhm.
meditation retreats where we cooked vegetarian food and
Yeah.
stuff. And during that time, like eventually
Mhm.
meditating by myself at home, uh, I was able to achieve this state called Samadhi.
Mhm.
And it's very hard to describe
Yeah.
because it's something, like I said, you have to do. Well, it took me years of practice
Mm.
to achieve it,
Yeah.
right? But it's something that, and then once you get there,
Mm.
it's like you start to know
Mm.
exactly what it takes
Yeah.
to get to it, right? And with the experience that I've had now over the past 20 years of having been introduced to this stuff,
Mm.
I feel like I absolutely know the way to Samadhi.
Can you share your experience when, from the point you start meditating to the point you feel like you are reaching that state of samadhi?
Sure.
Like, what do you feel? How do the emotions go in your head, or how does your body feel?
Absolutely. So, what the practice that leads to samadhi is there's basically it's kind of like the middle of the Buddhist path, right?
Mhm.
And there's three factors.
Mhm.
Right? I'm going to explain it very technically, but then
Yeah.
I'll explain about the actual experience. So, what you have to do is you have to apply effort,
Mhm.
and it's the effort is applied to the mindfulness factor, and mindfulness is that cultivating the ability to sustain attention on the entrance of the breath.
Mhm.
And so, because your mind will wander and wander, they call it the monkey mind, right?
Mhm.
Because it's always jumping from branch to branch. But if you cultivate that attention, and if you're able to keep your attention at the entrance of the breath,
Mhm.
then eventually the mind stops jumping around. It
Mhm.
takes a long time to develop, and
Mhm.
you have to learn, like, it's not a straining thing. It's not a, because you're just gonna it's gonna be like a dry, dull, grinding, painful exercise, right? But you just have to, it's very gentle. It's like you just notice. Hey, if you notice that your mind wandered, that's great. That's a moment of mindfulness, right? It's remindfulness. It's the word actually connotes like a remembering, right? And so you're remembering to sustain that attention, and then you just bring it back, and then eventually it gets stronger and stronger like a muscle. And then, so samadhi is what happens once you have applied this effort and developed this mindfulness of the entrance of the breath. And then eventually there's a resultant state called samadhi. It's not worth translating. Samadhi is a beautiful word. And so might as well just use it. Samadhi is, and it's because it's something unique too. There's no word for it because there's no knowledge of it in the Western world, because nobody does it, right? Because you're bringing your mind to a state of stillness, and in order to do that, you have to overcome these 5 hindrances. So again, I said I'm being very technical about it, but the actual experience of it is you are wrestling with these movements of mind, right? And the movements of mind are the coarsest and most unpleasant one is called ill will. And ill will is any kind of aversion or anger or, disliking, frustration, annoyance, all of that stuff, right? You have this little bit of ill will against the moment. You don't like it, right? So, and you want to change it, but, that needs to be quieted, and that needs to be suppressed and subdued and put away. And then sensual desire is another very strong one, right? Because so much of our life is consumed by pursuing pleasure, pursuing sensual pleasure. And so you're working with these energies because they arise habitually. We have a habitual mind. Our mind is a machine that just does what it does until you actually consciously, intentionally start working with it, right? And so while you're sustaining this attention to the breath, then when these things arise, instead of doing what we normally do, which was chase and run after them and pursue and sustain these energies and act upon them, we simply watch them arise. And we watch the energy. We're mindful of the energy while maintaining awareness of the breath. You feel these different emotional states arise, and then but you are aware that they're impermanent. We'll get into the wisdom side of Buddhism as well, which tells you to watch out for these characteristics of reality, which are universal and apply to everything in our experience. One is that it's all impermanent. Everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It arises and it passes away. So you watch the energy rise, and then you watch it pass away. And eventually, those waves, they get weaker and weaker, and they calm, and the mind becomes still.
Right.
And so these other more subtle hindrances are like drowsiness, because once you stop doing the coarser, anger and craving,
The body becomes relaxed.
and you become bored. So what do you do when you're bored? You yawn and you start falling asleep. So you have to actually rouse some energy there. Yeah. I'm moving a little bit through it a little bit fast, but it's a lot, right? And then you get restless. So you get restless. So that's boredom. You want to do something. You feel like, and you get worried. You think, what am I forgetting? Is there something important that I should be doing? That's restlessness, right? And that's when your energy is just getting up a little too high. Like it's making you want to get up and move. But then you have to calm the energy down. It's like tuning, right? If the energy is too low, you got to raise it up. If it's too high, you got to lower it down. And tuning is just a really good metaphor for what it is to get into samadhi. And then it's also tuning your attention, right? Because your attention's going left. No, bring it back. Oh, it's going right. No, bring it back. And then eventually your mind becomes concentrated, one-pointed and concentrated on that sensation of breath, the feeling of the breath. It's like that you feel the air entering, and it's a little bit cool, and you feel it a little bit warm on the way out. And then your body becomes still, your mind becomes still, and that's the experience, right? So you're experiencing emotion, but then all that calms down and quiets, and you experience dullness and drowsiness, but then you become alert and awake, and you experience restlessness, but then you calm that down, and then you're aware, fully alert. Your back is self-supported, because when you're relaxed down into a chair, you get more too relaxed, right? You have to be alert, fully there, fully present. And then all of these things that would normally pull you, they stop pulling you. And so what it is, it's like a state of release from the things that we're attached to, right? But it's temporary, right? Because we come out of it. I come out of it, and then the craving and all of the ordinary energies come back. But it gives you a taste of what like this freedom is. But I have to explain how blissful it is, because right now they're like, okay, stillness, what? So what, right? But what happens when you get close to this is something extraordinary, because this is what William James would call a religious experience, right? It's profound, it's powerful, it's transformative, because it teaches you something, right? It teaches you what it is it's a state of contentment, right? It's a state of independence from the things that we think we need. It's a state of overcoming of all types of addiction, right? When you overcome craving, when craving ceases, suffering ceases. That's the teaching of the Buddha summarized, right? It's about the Four Noble Truths are basically there is suffering and there's an end of suffering. Suffering ceases, but there's a path that leads to that, right? And that's these 8 factors, which I've described 3, right? Effort, right? Mindfulness, right? Concentration. But even there's preliminaries for that, because you can't bring your mind to stillness if you're behaving in an immoral way. And so that's, for a Buddhist, morality is not some command from God. It's like, it's just in your best interest, because it's a prerequisite for extraordinary blissful states of mind. Yeah.
How do you feel when you reach to that Samadhi point?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
What a perfect question. Okay, yeah. So, entering Samadhi, when the body becomes still, when all those energies calm down and your mind becomes still, something extraordinary happens. So you experience something called rapture. Now, rapture has a very specific meaning in Christianity, but it's not that meaning. It's more like the general usage meaning of rapture. It's just this incredible feeling. You know, there's a simile for it, and it's a simile of what a person feels when they've been wandering through a desert and they reach water, right? And they know that they're going to drink, and it's just this sense of anticipation of something wonderful, and then joy, this unworldly joy just fills you. Pleasure in the body, right? And it just happens. It's just part of the experience, right? It is a overwhelmingly pleasurable experience, but it's not like, because it's a state of freedom from craving, right? So it's not about bodily pleasure. It's not the bodily pleasure that's the thing, right? It's the release from craving that is what brings about all this joy and this intense positive emotion, right? So you're experiencing rapture and joy and pleasure in stillness, and it's a stillness which is truly content. It wants of nothing. It's just, and it's something that you're no longer trying to do, because it's actually a resultant of all the effort that you put in before, right?
Right.
So it's blissful. Like it's and you're just there, and there's no more effort needed. You're like there's the simile of it's like an air, like somebody has pulled back a bow, right? The effort, the right effort, and the mindfulness is like pulling back a bow. It's work, right? But entering samadhi is like the moment you release, and then you are an arrow sailing through the air. And that's samadhi is a state of release. You're no longer applying any effort even to sit. It's just it's a state of temporary release from the bonds that normally bind our mind.
Do you feel more connected to your spirit when you reach that state?
You feel like you feel like you have found your true home. You feel like you found the real you, but this is language that needs to be discussed further. And the reason is because Buddhism, one of these characteristics of reality that I was talking about, along with impermanence, the next one is unsatisfactoriness. So everything that's come into being is not something to base your ultimate satisfaction on, because something impermanent is bound to change and bound to cease. And if that's what you're relying on, then it's not a satisfactory thing to rely on, right? So you have to find something that's beyond all of that in order to find satisfaction, right? In order to find what's truly satisfactory. So the third one, though, the contingent one, which makes your question, which involves your question, is if all is impermanent and all is unsatisfactory, all that's come into being, all phenomena, then all phenomena are not self.
Okay.
That's a really hard one for people, right?
Yeah.
Because we all have a sense of self, right? And sometimes when that sense of self is challenged, it's uncomfortable or frightening. I remember it being frightening. I remember it being frightening the first time I was at the monastery, right? When Ajahn Sona told me that there's no little guy called Kellan inside your head pulling levers, right? And this concept of no self. And I went upstairs and I'm like, well, who am I then? There's no me inside. Well, it was kind of a frightening thought, because I'd never thought about it before. But the way, like, it's something that those three things, those are liberating wisdom if you fully understand them. Like, if you truly know all is impermanent, all is unsatisfactory, and all is not self, then that's arahantship. To truly know all that is full enlightenment, right? So, not self is a hard one, right? But then they get you to investigate. So once you get samadhi, then you move on to the next stage of the path, which is wisdom cultivation, right? And that's the right view and the right intention, which lead to like this liberating knowledge, right? And the liberating knowledge is just that: impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and not self. So when you investigate, when your mind is so serene, because it's only when you reach samadhi that you can truly see the truth of those three marks, right? You might agree with them intellectually, which means that you have right view, like you have the mundane right view, but it's not perfected and become right knowledge yet, right? So when you know it, when you truly know it to your bones, like you know it all the way down, then that's when you're fully liberated, because then you cling to nothing, right? You cling to nothing impermanent. You cling to nothing unsatisfactory. You cling to nothing as a self. and that's full release.
In today's generation, where people have the knowledge of how meditation is helpful, what would you suggest uh, for pulling people towards Samadhi?
I think people need to do the real thing, like the real practice, the whole deal, like not holding anything back. Mindfulness is taken out of context in the Western society. Like I want people to cultivate the Eightfold Path. I want people to do celibacy because you can't get samadhi unless you're practicing some degree of celibacy because sexual desire is a hindrance. It prevents samadhi, right? If you can't get your sensual desire to cease, then you don't enter samadhi,
Right.
right? So we need to bump it up a notch. I want to show people this freedom, and it's tremendous freedom. Like what is like, oh man, people are enslaved, right? People are enslaved by their own negative emotions, their desires, and there really is freedom. And even if it's not complete freedom, even if you're not like a fully enlightened monk, you can achieve a level of freedom of mind and a level of you can have an internal refuge that is that can you can weather any storm because you have this place you can always go. You know it's always available. It's always there. It's always accessible.
Yeah.
Samadhi is always accessible. It relies on nothing external. You don't need anything but your breath.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What will be the best way for a person to start their journey? Because in this world where it's everyone has so many desires when it comes to people running behind money, luxury, um, high quality lifestyle, and um, sexual desires as well. So, uh, your mind is surrounded by all these desires, and then how do you actually calm yourself down and move towards samadhi, or move towards this meditative practice? How would you suggest someone to start?
Well, the truth is everybody's different, right? And so people are starting at different places.
Right.
The Buddha actually taught a graduated training, right? Like he taught, depending on who he's talking to, he might start them right at the very beginning, right? And he might say, hey, look, you're very much concerned about my stuff and you're selfish and you have no joy as a result, right? Like give a gift, give someone a gift, do some generosity, right? Do something nice for somebody, right?
Yeah.
Generosity is ground zero. Like it's the absolute starting point. If you can't relinquish something and give it away and realize that it actually gladdens the mind, right? To be generous
Yeah.
rather than just thinking about me and what I get,
Yeah.
then you're going to have no spiritual progress whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
So generosity is like the first thing to encourage that to someone, right? Like generosity is a beautiful thing and it actually brings great return, right? Like you don't know, but there's actually this thing called karma, right? And this stuff comes back to you and it comes back amplified, right? Like you are rewarded for the good that you do, right?
Yeah.
And then kindness and compassion, right? If you can do acts of kindness, if you can restrain yourself from doing harm, right? That's another level because that's harder, right? If you're habitually angry, harmful person, if you're involved in a harmful occupation where you're selling weapons to, rival,
Yeah. Yeah.
tribes and countries and they're killing each other and you're creating death and suffering.
Yeah.
If you're adding to the suffering of the world, it's very hard. Like you actually have to change your life. You actually have to quit your job and go do something else.
Yeah.
You actually have to work hard to change yourself, right?
Yeah.
And the process of change, like I said, it's a gentle process,
Mm.
but you're not like people aren't gentle, right? Like if you're I mean, there's so many different ways that people can be, right? There's so many different configurations of personality. Some people abuse others, but they're perfectly kind to themselves. Some
Yeah.
people abuse others and themselves, right? Some people abuse themselves but not others, and some people don't abuse anybody,
Yeah.
which is the best way to be, right? So you want to work
Yeah.
towards that. But it's like you have to work with whatever you're working with, and really, like meditation is the tool for that. Not everybody meditates, so you can just try. It's just a force of will to restrain yourself
Mm.
from doing harm, right?
Yeah.
And you might just limit it. Like if you can take it down a notch or two, right? That's positive, right? This is going to have positive results for people.
Mm-hmm.
So not everybody is going to be like cultivating samadhi. That's just a fact.
Right.
But the first steps, so as I was saying, the Eightfold Path, the Eightfold Path, it can go either way, right? Like it actually in its actual formulation, it starts with right view and right intention, but because those are the things that compel you to take on the path,
Right.
which then involves the morality, the ethics factors, which are right speech, right action, and right livelihood.
Right.
Right? So then you stop speaking harshly and harmfully to people and lying, and you stop doing harm with your body. So, like killing and harming and all that stuff, speech and action, and then right livelihood. So you stop doing harmful types of work, harmful jobs,
Right.
and but yeah, so those are right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood. And then it goes to right mindfulness, right intention. Right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration.
Okay.
And from right mindfulness and right concentration, you then strengthen right view and right intention, which transform into wisdom and liberation.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the Eightfold Path.
What are your experiences as well as suggestions for people when it comes to detoxifying during samadhi? Because I know one thing, I've heard about this, I've read about this, that people who obtain samadhi or who are on the journey, they do have detoxifying process, detoxifying the mind as well as the body. So when it comes to the simple living and the simple eating, that's generally what's followed. And is it true? How does that work?
Yeah. So, like for example, the monks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Buddhism is very monastic centered. Of course, there's a Buddhist lay community, you got whole Buddhist countries, but the teachings of the Buddha were primarily, not primarily, but they were, I think the bulk of them are directed towards the monks, but of course, he's interacting with lay people, and by design, the monks are interacting with lay people every day. So the monks are alms subsistent, which means that they walk through a village with a bowl every day and receive food, and they don't eat after noon. They typically eat one meal a day, right? You can split it up into two if you want, but at noon that food expires. You have to throw it out and feed the animals. And then so in terms of detoxifying the body, whatever they ate, and you're encouraged to eat little, like just enough. You're not eating for fun. You're not eating for to get strong or beautify yourself. You're just eating to maintain your body for the practice of meditation, because that's the proper occupation of a monk, right? You're cultivating meditation in order to attain enlightenment, because enlightenment benefits everybody, because it's an example of something extraordinary that people can do in order to overcome all of their suffering, which of course is the number one issue in everyone's life, right? Whether people acknowledge that or not, it doesn't always appear obvious to people that like your number one concern is always suffering, and most of what you do is trying to trying to overcome suffering.
Yeah.
But in terms of detoxifying the body, that definitely happens for the monks when they're only eating once a day and they're being mindful of like,
Yeah.
I'm consuming what's best for my body, right? Like let's say that doesn't mean you can't eat anything that could be considered unhealthy. It's just, but when you go from noon until you go to sleep without food, digestion works beautifully. Like your body becomes so clean, and your mind becomes so clear as a result. You're just eating to maintain your body, and they do maintain their bodies well. Monks are very healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Some monk, I think the oldest person, I don't know if it's still the record, but there was a Buddhist monk, Burma or something, and he had lived to 116. He was the oldest living man. Buddhist monk. Might have something to do with the diet, right?
Yeah.
So, but you know, the truth is, one of the insights of the Buddha at the time, there were a lot of people that wanted to liberate their minds. So they would torture their bodies. They would deprive their bodies of food. They would do all kinds of strenuous practices, sometimes to the point of death, and going blind and all these other ridiculous things, because they believed that overcoming care for the body would mean that their mind would be liberated and they would be able to, attain this liberation which they were seeking, but they didn't really understand, right? The Buddha, one of his insights was that the body is not the enemy, right? You should take care of the body. It's your vehicle, right? You want to take care of it. But at the end of the day, the mind is more important, right? So you take care of your body best you can. Detoxification, like I said, comes from eating for the maintenance of the body. And, it helps when you allow your food to fully digest and don't go to sleep with a full stomach or whatever. But much more important than that is the cultivation of the mind. It's the cultivation of samadhi, because you can do that. You could probably do that on a pretty unhealthy diet.
Okay.
Like if the villagers just happened to feed you McDonald's every day, you could probably still cultivate samadhi. So Buddhism focuses on maintaining the body, but not it's not overly concerned on how you do that. It's just basically like just maintain it. It's like a car.
Right.
Do your best.
Yeah.
And then the real important thing is how you cultivate your mind.
Right.
Yeah. There's a quote. The Buddha says, "The body is a fragile jar. Make a castle of your mind." So our plan is to undertake the practice which leads to samadhi, right?
Yeah.
And so we were thinking that undertaking the 8 precepts would be a great support for that.
Yeah.
And let's talk about what those 8 precepts are.
Okay.
Basically, if you take the 8 precepts, that is a really good, just very simple, because you can just remember the precepts and you know that you're basically doing everything besides the actual formal sitting down and meditating and attempting to make effort to remain mindful throughout the day. The 8 precepts they're the preliminary, right?
What are the 8 precepts?
Okay, so the first 5 are the same pretty much as the precepts for lay people,
Right.
but except for a modification of number 3. Okay, so number 1 is to refrain from killing or harming living beings, because this is all about non-harm, right? Your mind can't be peaceful if you're doing harm.
Right.
And stealing, right? Stealing hurts people.
Yeah.
Right? You steal somebody's valued possession and then you hurt them.
Yeah.
So don't steal. The next one, for lay people, it's any sexual behavior which is harmful. Okay. But for somebody who's really trying to cultivate samadhi, you want to do a period which is essentially like being a monk temporarily, right? You want to do celibacy. So you want to refrain from all sexual activity.
Right.
Because it's all about overcoming the sensual desires, right? So mindfulness is basically an attempt to overcome desire, sensual desire, and even like anger and ill will. Those are a form of desire. you're desiring something to be gone. You're desiring something to change, right? So both of those things need to be brought to subdued.
Yeah.
Because not to if cessation, I mean, if craving ceases, then you've realized ultimate nirvana. Then you're enlightened in like the highest
Right.
definition, right? From a Buddhist perspective. So, because that's what the Four Noble Truths. Let's just briefly talk about the Four Noble Truths. Suffering, the truth of suffering is the first noble truth. And it's the truth that we are all affected by suffering. We're all subject to suffering, right? And we're subject to suffering because of the second noble truth, because craving is the cause of suffering. Because we crave, we sense, we like, we crave, and then we might be separated from the thing that we crave, and we suffer. We might have to associate with something that we crave to not associate with, that we don't like, right? And then we suffer. And so it's just craving altogether, which is the cause of suffering. So if you can, third noble truth, bring craving to cessation, then you will realize the end of suffering. The cessation of craving is the cessation of suffering. And then the fourth noble truth is there is a way leading to the cessation of suffering. And the way is this noble eightfold path, which is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi. Samadhi. So that is the Four Noble Truths. We're trying to, in order to enter samadhi, you need to temporarily bring craving to cessation. Now, another teaching, another interesting little way of understanding things is that craving, which takes two main forms, which the categories are generally named greed and hate. But greed is anything from like a subtle liking to a subtle disliking. Greed is a subtle liking to like extreme, like I need it now, like, you know,
Obsession.
Yeah, obsession. And then hate, the category, is anything from like just like the most minor annoyance, the most minor discomfort kind of thing, psychological discomfort, to extreme rage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is that in samadhi, those things are not present in the mind. They have been fully suppressed.
Right.
But they're still there. They're still there in the heart, right? And they're rooted in delusion. So you actually have this trio called greed, hate, and delusion. And the greed and hate, they are like plants which grow out of this base called delusion. So you have to uproot all three. You have to uproot greed, hate, and delusion in order to be fully free, and to attain like the nirvana, which is the end of the Buddhist path. But in samadhi, you suppress those types of, you suppress those emotions so that they're not present, so that you're experiencing a release from them.
Yeah.
I stumbled my word there, but you're experiencing a temporary release from them, which they call temporary nirvana,
Right.
because it's an equivalent mental state to the state of someone who has reached the end of the path, right? Someone who's permanently attained nirvana, who's uprooted greed, hate, and delusion. They will never fall back into negative states or craving ever again. But with samadhi is a good springboard into wisdom, or it's like it produces the right condition for seeing the truths which liberate. But it's a temporary suppression.
Right.
Yeah. So celibacy. We're talking about celibacy and how like really this is about bringing craving to cessation. And so that's the third precept is celibacy,
Mm.
right? And that's going to be difficult for a lot of people. And the truth is, we really have to bring a sense of like, hey, not to beat yourself up, right? Because
Yeah.
this is not, there's no guilt
Mm.
involved.
Yeah.
There's no guilt in Buddhism,
Yeah.
right? Guilt is not an emotion that's recognized by Buddhists, right? It's like Buddhists believe in karma.
Mm.
So if you do something bad, no reason to feel guilty
Yeah.
about it. You're going to get the result and it's going to be painful.
Yeah.
Why bother with inflicting negative emotion upon yourself
Mm.
for something when you're already going to get the bad that you've done is going to come back to you.
Yeah.
All you can do is wait for it to come, right? So don't worry if you don't live up to perfection.
Mm.
That was actually a problem that I had. That's one of the reasons that I had, difficulty the first time I was at the monastery,
Mm.
the way that I did, because I was perfectionistic and I expected more highly of myself than was possible,
Mm.
right? And it's like the attitude of monks.
Mm.
There's no anger when it comes to there's no anger about other people's faults.
Right.
That would be unwholesome. That would be not skillful mental
Right.
action, right? So the monks don't get mad when you make a mistake. They say, yeah, it's understandable that you're just starting out in this, and we expect that, and you just you can't worry about what you've done.
Mm.
You can only set yourself in the right direction
Yeah.
and do the best that you can, right?
Yeah.
You see your mistake. That's all that really matters.
Right.
Yeah. So don't worry. If you don't live up to these 8 precepts,
Mm.
that's fine. It's like the cultivation of mindfulness, right?
Mm.
If you forget about your breath, that's fine. As soon as you realize that you forget about your breath, you've had a moment of mindfulness. That's good. As soon as you realize you've violated a precept,
Mm.
that's good. That's good. You're aware of it,
Mm.
and now next time you got a chance to not do the thing, right? So not killing or harming, not stealing, not refraining from sexual activity to the best of your ability, and not beating yourself up if you fail, right? Number 4 is the speech precept.
Right.
And so that's not lying.
Mm.
And again, don't beat yourself up. If you lie,
Mm.
notice that you lied. Maybe tell the truth. Admit, just say, okay, wait, that's not entirely true. This is the truth. Correct yourself, right? It's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, and lots of mistakes will be made along the way. Harsh speech. That's when you speak to someone with an intention to cause negative emotion in them. And that's harsh speech comes from a place of negative emotion, right?
Yeah.
All of that is what we're trying to overcome in this process, right? So refraining from harsh, malicious speech, that's speech where you're trying to hurt somebody else with your speech,
Yeah.
or you're trying to turn someone or a group against another group. It's divisive, it's malicious. Refrain from that, right? We're not trying to do harm. We're trying to learn how to not do harm so that our minds can become peaceful, right? And then the last one is, it's about frivolous speech. It's like useless, pointless talk. But I mean, what is point?
Gossip.
It's gossip, okay?
Yeah,
Gossip.
gossip.
But
Yeah.
even playful speech can be just fun. Like it's not unwholesome, right?
Yeah.
If you're being silly and you're making someone laugh, you're doing a good deed, right? Like don't worry too much about that part of it. It's just gossip, right?
Gossip. Yeah.
Yeah, which can actually hurt people,
Yeah.
right? So the last one, which is going to be another hard one for a lot of people, including myself over the years, to refrain from taking intoxicants which cloud the mind, weaken wisdom, and cause heedlessness, cause carelessness.
That's true.
right? So that's a hard one, right? Because it is true. Like, and there's certain drugs that this applies to. There's certain drugs that are in the category that, that are harmful. And so alcohol is definitely one. And I mean, maybe you're the type of person who can take a single drink and use it as just a gentle, relaxation tool. But generally refrain from the things which have the danger of taking away your, like making you reckless.
Right.
Right. So alcohol is definitely in on that category. There's other ones for sure. Anything that clouds your mind, anything that makes it harder for you to be mindful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the first five, and that's pretty much covers the average Buddhist layperson, right? Except they're not celibate. They typically refrain from engaging in sexual activity that harms other people. So the sixth precept is not to eat after noon. I'm not asking anyone to not eat after noon, right? People in the world work hard and you use your mind and your body a lot and you need to feel yourself for that, right? But I was thinking maybe instead we could modify it and say that we just don't eat, we don't eat after sundown, right? That gives our food time to digest before we go to sleep. And we try to be moderate with our eating, right? So we're not eating too much. We're just eating to maintain our body, right? That's like a rule of thumb.
Right.
And the seventh precept is about wearing jewelry and other things that make you proud of yourself, right? Just like adorning yourself and these things that
Luxurious pleasures, you mean?
luxurious pleasures. The same precept also includes using luxurious seats and beds, right? So if you can, find, some foam that you can lay out on the floor and sleep on that, that's wonderful. If you can't, don't worry too much about it. It's just that a soft bed is very good at taking your mindfulness away, right? And also, yeah, and it can make sensuality arise more easily, right? A harder bed is like the monks, they all sleep on at the very most like a couple inches of foam,
Right.
and what else? But in Thailand, they're sleeping on these thin little grass mats, which barely provide any support from the wooden slats below. Like that's how I slept when I was in Thailand monasteries. But yeah, because I did end up going back to monasteries throughout the last 17 years or so, right? I spent time in Thailand, Thai monasteries across Canada, and back to Birken actually for periods of time. Like the longest I spent there, I think, was 5 or 6 months. Yeah, and probably both. Like I think Birken, I spent the bulk of my monastery time at, but I calculate in total 2 years. I've spent more than 2 years of my life in Buddhist monasteries.
Right.
Yeah. I have to remember what the eighth precept is.
You said the jewelry one.
Huh?
Refraining from
Yeah,
jewelry.
yeah. Entertainment and adornment.
Yeah.
And no, okay, so I mixed it up. That was actually the next precept. The eighth precept is not to use
Luxury.
high or luxurious seats and beds.
That was the seventh one.
No, that's the eighth. This you're arguing with me? Okay. No. Okay, so
Arguing with
I'm
you.
kidding. The seventh precept is actually it's just jewelry and beautification and entertainment. I knew there was two combined there, but it's jewelry and entertainment. So that's what I haven't mentioned yet is you're to refrain from indulging in entertainments.
Okay.
Right? And that is because it's a great way to get lost in sensuality, to watch some, movie or this or that. So let's do it. Let's undertake the 8 precepts.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I undertake to refrain from killing or harming living beings.
I undertake to refrain from killing or harming human beings.
To refrain from stealing.
To refrain from stealing.
To refrain from sexual activity.
To refrain from sexual activity.
To refrain from lying.
To refrain from lying.
Speaking harshly.
Speaking harshly.
Maliciously.
Maliciously.
And gossiping.
And gossiping.
To refrain from taking intoxicants.
From taking intoxicants.
From eating after sundown.
From eating after sundown.
From jewelry and entertainment.
From jewelry and entertainment.
From luxurious seats and beds.
From luxurious sheets and beds.
You said sheets. Let's try again.
What did you say?
Seats and beds.
Seats and beds.
Okay, try again. And from luxurious seats and beds.
And from luxurious seats and beds. You say it right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You did.
Okay.
Should we try that again?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I like that one. Let's keep it. Okay. And what's next? Okay, so we've taken the 8 precepts now.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to set up a meditation practice.
Uh-huh.
So how are we going to do that?
How about, are you like asking me, or are you going to keep it here?
I think we should have 2 meditation sessions a day, which are formal, 50-minute long. And they can be any time that you can.
50 or 15?
50, 50.
Okay.
And you can fit them in anywhere that you can fit them in, which in a busy person's life is probably nowhere, but good luck. And of course, you can shorten that as necessary, right? If you can do 50 minutes in the morning and 50 minutes in the evening, ideal. That's what we did at the monastery, right? And everything else was up to us if we wanted to meditate alone or this or that. And
right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so we undertook the 8 precepts. And we have scheduled 2 meditation sittings a day, ideally for 50 minutes each, ideally morning and evening, because then you get a balance of both.
Right.
And then you want to be trying to keep that, like the morning is great because it sets the tone for your day.
Right.
And then you want to be trying to maintain that mindfulness that you developed during the morning throughout the day and stay mindful. And then the more mindful you are, and mindful is, I am using this term incorrectly because mindfulness is very specifically about, keeping the attention on the breath and about, not allowing the unwholesome states that arise to dissolve without, fueling them. But so what I mean is being aware throughout the day, in order to attempt to, in a similar way, prevent unwholesome states of mind from arising. And you can watch your breath throughout the day. If you have time to breathe, you have time to cultivate, right? So you can do that, and then the evening, settle down after your day into meditation practice, and then try to go to sleep mindful. Basically, try to keep consistent mindfulness throughout the day.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. I'm excited for that.
Me too. Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching. I would love for you to follow along with this at home and to cultivate Samadhi with me and Prasanna. I'm really looking forward to doing this myself, and I just, this is the new direction of my podcast. I used to have more political conversations and things, but I just really want to show people that there is this thing called Samadhi, because people don't know. Like, no one knows. No one knows that it exists, and it's a refuge from suffering. I really want to share this with you. I think it's so valuable, and I think it'll be so helpful today with all of the problems in the world and all the confusion. And I just think that this is a way to develop yourself in a positive direction. So I hope you'll cultivate the path with me and start this journey to enlightenment. Like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.